Hello, my name is Buddy Childress, and I'm Executive Director of Needles Eye Ministries. We are really happy to have you with us today for a monthly speaker series. We hope you enjoy it.
It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Howe Rice. Howe is a graduate of King College in Tennessee and holds a graduate degree in counseling from Shippensburg University. He owns and operates 4 local Chick-Fil-A's, one in Virginia Center Commons, one in Ashland, one in Kings Dominion, and one at MCV. So I encourage you to go and visit him and come in and say hi to any one of these locations. He has been a beloved part of the Needles Eye family for about 15 years. He is active in the Christian Presidents Group, where he's been a member. He's also active on our board and has been a past board chairman. He and Jen have been married for how many years? 14 years. That's something to celebrate. And he is a very active dad to 3 very active boys, ages 6, 9, and 11, Jack, Nate, and Owen. He and Jen are very active in their church, Mechanicsville Christian Center, involved with missions and in serving in every area of church life. I have known Howe to be a very kind and generous, Jesus-loving man who truly lives on mission. He sees his work as his ministry, as you will hear when he shares. Ladies and gentlemen, would you help me welcome Howe Rice?
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Thank you very much. You know, when you're not a very good speaker and then you're asked to speak, I've learned this over the years being with Chick-Fil-A, you know, you do occasionally get asked to speak. And so what I've learned is it really doesn't matter how bad I am as long as I have free coupons for everyone. So the more clapping, the more smiling, the more nods of the head. You know when you're speaking, the more coupons that may appear. So I just want to, yes. Thank you so much. My name's Howe Rice. My business is undoubtedly my ministry, and look at it that way. You know, I want the restaurants to be lights in the community, to truly be set apart and have an impact for Christ. And it is a privilege to be able to do that. You know, the one thing I would like as you walk away today would be to walk away and say, what I do every day should be for Christ. If it's, you know, if you own a business or if you work or whatever your vocation is, it should be for Christ, and there is a way to do that. God promises to give us the desires of our heart. And if that's your desire, I'm convinced He will meet that desire and exceed it. So, you know, but why? Why? And, you know, why is such a good question, and why is very important to answer. And I want to tell you a quick story. I have 3, as Lisa said, very active boys, and fairly young. We're going through this Easter remembrance walk at church, and as we're moving through, it's this great thing our church does, and you walk through these different rooms and you see Christ on a cross and the Roman soldiers, and it really impacts you. And we get to the end, and there's the Lord's Supper. And you just kind of walk up and you do that at these little tables as a family, and it was really an intimate moment with my family, and everybody's really quiet. There's other families in there, and we're all having the Lord's Supper. And I look over, and everybody has their grape juice out. It's really quiet, and all of a sudden my 8-year-old throws back his grape juice, and he goes, that was good. Dad, can you tell that guy to bring some more over here? And add a little bread while he's at it. And so, you know, I wasn't a very good dad in explaining the why this is important. And so I do want to explain the why to you today, why I think that's important to make what we do every day, living out our relationship with Christ every day. You know, I came to Christ at an early age, but didn't always kind of live that out. I didn't understand that it's really a relationship. In relationship, you have to commit to spending time with Him to understand what and where and what He wants you to do. And so even though I came to Christ at 7 years old, it wasn't until I was 18 and I went to college, which isn't where most people really find a real relationship with Christ. But my first night, I was my roommate, who I really shouldn't have even been rooming with. I played baseball. I should have been with a baseball player. But through a series of events, I ended up rooming with this guy, and we just really clicked. And the first night, I climbed up in the top bunk, and I looked down, and he had his Bible open. And the light was on. And I said, what are you doing? And he said, well, I do this every night. And it just really impacted me. I said, well, tell me how you do it. Because I'd never really been discipled in how to develop that relationship with Christ. And it really made a difference. I had a very different college experience because of that, too, and because of his influence. And so that relationship being so important, the why is so important. And so the why. Why is our vocation lived out as ministry important? And I think first is because God commands it. Colossians 3:23 says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as though you were working for the Lord and not for people. The second thing, and there's a man in this room, and he and I have talked about this a number of times, that I want to stand before the Lord one day and say, Lord, I gave you everything I had, and I don't want to leave anything on the table. I want to make him smile. And so for me, that's a huge why. And the third is, why not? If not me, then who? And if not you, then who? There's not a lot of people just walking in the church off the street. We have an opportunity for 40, 50, 60 hours a week to impact people's lives. If we're not doing it, who's going to do it? Culture tells us it's not the right thing to do. You go to church on Sunday and leave it there. And I don't think that's what Christ tells us, and that we should live it out every day. And so for me, that's the why. And we're going to show you a quick video that I think explains the why really well. Thank you. That's a training video for Chick-Fil-A to remind us that every day I get the opportunity 3,000 times a day. in my restaurants to either step into that, in those stories, because everybody has a story, or to step away. And I think all of us, if it's a client, if a customer, maybe even a coworker, we have the opportunity to step in or step away. It takes courage to step in. And how do we do it? How do we do it? And I'm going to tell you a few things, and I want to make this very clear. I am certainly not an expert at this, and all I do is feel like I just follow the Lord's command in what we do at the restaurants and the vision that I provide. But at the same time, it's these stories I'm going to tell you, these are folks that I get the privilege of working with every day who step in and do amazing things. And I'm just honored to work with them. And so I hope you don't take it that I'm bragging about this, but I will brag on my folks because they are really exceptional people. I want to tell you a quick story about a young lady named Rachel who works for me. And this happened recently, very recently. And so it was very top of mind for me. She comes up and she's has a lot of energy and just a great young lady. And she said, I'm so excited. She goes, I got to step into someone's life. And she said, I was in the drive-thru. This is in the drive-thru. So, and she said one of our regulars came through, and she asked her. She said, "What's wrong? You look upset." It was early in the morning. It was for breakfast, and Rachel said the woman looked at her and said, "My husband just called and tells me he's leaving me over the phone." And I'm like, wow. And I said, "Rachel, what'd you do?" And she said, "Well, I asked him if I could pray with him." And she goes, I leaned out the drive-thru and grabbed her hand and prayed with her. And she said, "Is it okay to pray through the drive-thru?" And I was like, "Yes, it's okay to." Wow. And those types of stories are just amazing. There's so many that I could share with you. One other one in the restaurant. There's so much ministry that takes place in the dining room. And, I think great customer service, which is something that Chick-Fil-A, we kind of pride ourselves on, I think that's a ministry in and of itself, if we're preaching Christ verbally or praying with someone or not. So we certainly try to just treat anyone with dignity, honor, and respect. And through that, hopefully people will recognize and say, what is different about this place? And then we can share our story of why it's different. But I have a little lady who works for me in the evenings, and I'll tell you the story. I was at the restaurant, and it was 7:30, 8 o'clock. This big guy walks up to me, and he goes, "I got to talk to you." And I was like, "Oh boy, no, restaurant guy." Somebody comes up and says, "I got to talk to you." Didn't look very pleased, probably what's coming, right? Yeah, sandwich was cold, someone wasn't, and you're like, okay, you got to step into this. And he said, "I just want to let you know," he said, "my mom passed away 2 weeks ago. Miss Diane came to my table, held my hand, and prayed for me." And he goes, "I just want to tell you what that means to me." And he grabbed me and hugged me, and tears were in his eyes. And, it's those types of stories that I get excited to work with folks who will step into those types of situations and stories. One thing that we do, not only do we look internally, so in the dining room or through the drive-thru, but also what can we do in our community to impact the community? And I'll give you a story, and this happened fairly recently. I was actually at a Needle's Eye event, and there was a devotion on Luke chapter 14, which is where Jesus talks about the feast. And he says, listen, don't throw a feast for your friends. Throw a party for those that would never have a party thrown for them. So I'm opening a new restaurant. This was in May of last year in Ashland. And there's a hotel in Ashland, close, literally 100 yards away, that the police chief had actually stopped by and said, listen, we really have some problems out of this hotel. And I just want to let you know, a lot of people live there. A lot of single moms, there's a lot of drugs, there's a lot of, there's a truck stop right across the street, so there's just a lot that goes on. I just want to give you a heads up. And so I heard this devotion. I'm literally sitting in a trailer outside the restaurant. The restaurant wasn't ready yet, and we were doing some work to get ready for it. And I looked across there, and God said clearly, that's who you need to throw a party for. And I looked at one of my guys, who was going to be the general manager of that store. He was in there, and I said, Blake, we're supposed to throw a party for those people across the street. And he goes, I love it. That's awesome. Let's do it. And you know, you have to be careful when you speak something around other Christian brothers and sisters. You know they're going to hold you accountable for that. So sure enough, you know, we were a little busy getting the restaurant open, but after we got it open in September, Blake said, hey, do you remember? You said we were going to throw a party. And I was like, yes, we are. And so so we embarked on that, and we threw a party for not only the hotel, but some churches heard of what we were doing and said, you know, we have some people that need a party thrown for them too. And I said, well, you bring them. And so we had 3 churches that brought families that they work with that needed a party thrown. And we have 142 seats at our restaurant. The Sunday before Thanksgiving, you know, we're closed on Sunday. So we took that afternoon and got ready, and 142 seats, and we had 142 people show up. If that's not a God thing, it was just awesome. And so what we did is we threw a feast with chicken. We didn't have turkey. We did go with chicken on the menu, just to let you know. And but we did make mashed potatoes and green beans and homemade rolls, and just threw this big party. We had it was a true celebration. We had pictures with the cow. I have an on-staff pastor who brought the word while we were there. We had teachers show up and volunteer, and you know, I think the folks felt very blessed. I know we felt very blessed to be a part of that. And so that same crew, I'm going to tell you the story real quick. The Christmas party for us, usually I just buy up a bunch of stuff and then give it away to my staff. Well, this crew at the Ashland store actually came to me and said, we know how much money you usually spend on this. We would rather take that money and go do random acts of kindness for a Christmas party. And I was like, what? That's awesome. I love it. And so what they did is they took the money and bought gift cards and gifts, and then went into a local area that really needed some help. And they actually had developed a relationship with a local youth director who walked us in. We knocked on doors and sang Christmas carols and gave out gifts, and that was our Christmas party. And it was such a blessing to be part of that. So we've looked in the restaurant. Now we're talking about the community, how we impact our community. I want to share one more story with you that has impacted me tremendously. Back in 2003, I went with a number of folks from my church and some leaders from our church, and went to Niger, Africa on a mission trip. And you know, I don't know if God audibly speaks to you very often. He doesn't to me. But I'm sitting on a porch in Niger, Africa, listening to leadership from some local church leaders, sharing what they thought needed to happen for the nation to come to Christ. And he mentioned building Christian middle schools. And there were some Christian elementary schools at that time, but they had nowhere for these kids to go afterwards, and the public schools are so bad. So I felt the Lord say, that's yours. That one is the one you own. Now get busy. And so from that came a lot of fundraising and a lot of some crazy ideas. My marketing director came up with this idea, let's put on a dodgeball tournament. And I was like, dodgeball? I was thinking, gosh, I like to play golf. How about golf? Something like that, but no, dodgeball. So we actually threw the first Chick-Fil-A charity dodgeball tournament back in 2005. And I'll never forget, we don't know what we're doing. We serve chicken. And, here we are starting this dodgeball tournament. And we're asking all these big companies for sponsorship money. And she called me one day and she said, I'm holding 3 checks right now. She said that they're for $8,000 a piece from, if I named the companies, you would know them. And I was like, only God. I said, only God could do this. I said, are these people crazy? Because we don't know what we're doing. I mean, how in the world only God could do something like that? And so that has been an incredible journey for me. So, these stories are really important. And looking internally, what are we doing? How are we impacting our community? And how are we impacting our world for Christ? And I get the privilege of doing that on a daily basis. I can't end today without talking about Chick-Fil-A. And so all of this is as a result of a man's vision. Believe it or not, this is the 50th anniversary of the Chick-Fil-A sandwich this year. So we're celebrating that. Truett Cathy started the company years ago, 50 years ago. And just to let you know, please keep him in your prayers. He's not doing well. He turned 93 last week, and so he's not doing well. So please keep him in your prayers. And what an amazing guy. I part of the franchise process, you did get to spend some time with him. And what attracted me to Chick-fil-A were the values. I was tired of working for folks that didn't share my values, and I think that's very important. Chick-fil-A's corporate purpose is to glorify God by being a faithful steward of all that's been entrusted to us and to have a positive impact on everyone who comes in contact with Chick-fil-A. And I was like, wow, I'd like to be part of that. That sounds great. I think I am the only guy in the Chick-fil-A world who ever came to Chick-fil-A through an ad. This has been years ago, and so I do have that dubious distinction there. But spending time with Truett, I do want to share one story. There were about 8 of us in the room, all of us pretty young guys, 25 to 30 or so. And he said, gentlemen, I want to impart some wisdom to you today. And he said, the 3 most important decisions you'll ever make in your life are the 3 M's. And he said, the first M is your master. He said, choose your master and choose him well. He said, all of us will be mastered by something. And he goes, we get the honor of choosing who that master is going to be. He said, after you choose your master, the second M is your mission. Master and mission. The mission will follow the master. And he said, the third M is your mate. And the 3 M's of life, the 3 most important decisions. I thought that was such an awesome bit of wisdom from him. I'm very honored to hear that from his lips. One of the last times I heard him speak, I heard him say this. He said, I've discovered that I get the greatest satisfaction when I give and expect nothing in return. And he certainly lived a life that way, and I'm honored to be part of what he started. Before you leave today, in honor of Truett and his generosity, I'm leaving with you upon your exit. You're going to get a little box, and in the box is going to be a cow. Everybody likes the cows. And so what I want to do with the cow is, what I would like for you to do with the cow is to keep it on your desk, keep it somewhere nearby, just as a reminder to say, my vocation and what I do can truly be a ministry. I want to touch people's lives with what I do on a daily basis. And then the second reason I want that cow there is so whenever you need a box lunch, you know who to call. Certainly be thankful for that. Yes, we would. And so also in the box, not only the cow, but you will have 5 coupons in the box. Now, 1 is for you, and then the other 4 are for you to take and to be generous without expecting something in return for other folks. So my business card's in there also. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Howe. Really, really appreciate this time. And now we'd like to open it up for some questions. Who would like to start us off with a discussion question?
How do you train your staff to think the way you spoke today?
The question Dr. Pryor has asked is, how do you train your staff to operate under these principles?
Sure. It's a great question. I get that quite often. It's, it really starts before they're even hired. You're looking for what I call the hospitality gene. You certainly do not need to be a believer to work at Chick-fil-A, but you do need to have the hospitality gene, the gene to say that I want to serve and I want a heart of service. So we certainly look for those folks first, because I'm not sure that you can really teach that. You can train specifics. There's specific actions that you want, but I think only the Lord trains the heart. And so we just look for those folks with that kind of heart and the hospitality gene.
What was the last M of the 3 M's? Mate. M-A-T-E. Oh, you're right.
Very important.
Some other questions?
No, listen, I could talk. You may be here for an hour or so.
Repeat the question.
Yes.
Taping it.
This gentleman was asking about the Schools for Niger project. And yes, it's so big and broad, it's hard for me to pull it in. I can tell you, if you'd like to talk after this, I could talk extensively. This has really gotten much bigger in all sorts of directions. Some folks are here from The Link, which is a nonprofit called Leading Innovatively Niger to the Kingdom. I'm just a little part of what they're doing. And, I feel like God had spoke to me about schools. And, but through that, here's something. Chick-fil-A is so big, and there's a foundation called WindShape Foundation, which is Truett's Foundation. And through a series of things, God has brought now what we do in Africa, WindShape is part of that. So I'm actually leading a trip in November to Niger and to visit the schools and continue to be a part of that. And so now for the schools, it's not just me. There's a number of Chick-fil-A guys out there, especially in the Atlanta area, and we're all focused on this. So all of a sudden we have more money. We were actually part of, Hazy could tell me, 4 schools last year? Building 7 altogether.
7 Christian schools being built through Chick-fil-A right now in Niger.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah. So God took a little thing and then just has exploded it. And so let me tell you this: if you want to go with me in November, I have a few spots available. And I tell you, if you're comfortable with your life and you don't want something amazing to happen, don't go. It is absolutely life-changing. And no matter how good a husband, a father, businessman you are, when you come back, you'll be better, because it changes your life. And so I challenge you, if you've never been on a mission trip, go. Because it is truly like Peter stepping out of the boat. You're doing something crazy for the Lord, and I think that he meets you there. When you cause yourself to be uncomfortable is when he really works. And we're comfortable people. We're so comfortable, and we want to always default to comfortable. And I don't think that's where the Lord wants us. I've seen more growth for myself when I cause myself to be uncomfortable and step out. And so, thank you for the question. Thank you. Yeah.
How do you spell your founder's name?
Truett, Truett. Kathy, Cathy. Yes, sir.
I have a silly question.
I like silly.
63, I've never had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Do you all still cook in peanut oil?
The question is, do we cook our peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in peanut oil? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, yes. We do still cook our chicken in peanut oil. You and I can. Yeah, it's actually a refined oil. I would never tell you to go try it, but at the same time, the allergens are removed. So, yes. So, thank you for that question. Yeah.
More questions? More questions? No? All right. Thank you. Oh, wait, we do have one
Well,
more.
this isn't a question, but, that day that if you wore something like a cow, you gave so much away, I could not believe. I think this was, I want to applaud you for that.
Cow Appreciation Day is a very big day for us. Yes. Yes, yeah, and we give, you come dressed as a cow and you get a free meal if you're in full cow regalia. If you're only wearing something cow, then we're still going to give you a sandwich. So look for that. It's in July every year. I'm sorry? Oh, you do? So you see a lot of cows roaming around that day. Yes, yes, that's a great day for us.
Thank you so much for your comments. Appreciate it. Howe, thank you so much for encouraging us and challenging us to live on mission, to step in towards one another and not away from one another. We so appreciate you. Let's give him a round of applause. I would also once again like to thank our sponsors, James River Planning. Thank you very much, Chuck. We so appreciate you. And I would like to bring us back to the communication card, but before we do, Would you bow your heads with me? We can pray. Father God, we are so thankful and grateful for all you have done in and through Howe's life, Father. And I pray, Lord, as he's shared his story with all of us here, Lord, that you would challenge us to step up and into all you have for us and all you have for us to do to bring your kingdom to come. And I pray, Lord, for those who are here that are curious about this relationship with Jesus that drives Howe to serve you, Lord, would you draw them? Be real to them, Lord. And I just pray, Father, that you would continue the work that you started in Howe and in each one of us. So we thank you and we pray it all in the name of our Savior Jesus. Amen.